In 2023, Elon Musk ordered 10,000 Nvidia chips for his AI company, XAI. He complained publicly that he couldn't get them fast enough. That Tesla, his own company, was losing Nvidia chips to other buyers. The richest man on earth was losing a procurement battle for computer hardware. Sam Altman, the CEO of OpenAI, the most talked about AI company in the world, flew to the Middle East to raise $7 billion, specifically to buy more Nvidia chips. Not to hire engineers. Not to build offices. To buy chips. Mark Zuckerberg announced in 2024 that Meta would own 350,000 Nvidia H100 chips by the end of the year. At $40,000 per chip, that's $14 billion spent on one product from one company. Three of the most powerful men in technology. All desperate for the same thing. All at the mercy of the same supplier. One company controls the hardware that makes artificial intelligence possible. And right now, that company controls the future, more completely than anyone is comfortable admitting. Before you can understand why every AI company on Earth is desperate for Nvidia's chip, you need to understand what the chip actually does. Because the answer is not obvious. A standard processor, the kind inside your laptop or phone, handles tasks sequentially. One calculation at a time. Very fast. That architecture works perfectly for most computing tasks, running applications, loading websites, processing documents. Training an artificial intelligence model is not like any of those tasks. Training an AI requires running billions of calculations simultaneously. Not one after another, but all at once. In parallel, across an enormous mathematical space. It is less like reading a book, and more like reading every book ever written at the same time, and finding the patterns connecting all of them. Standard processors cannot do this, at any practical speed. The mathematics involved would take years on conventional hardware. Nvidia's H100 chip contains 80 billion transistors. It can perform 4,000 trillion operations per second. It processes the kind of parallel mathematical computation that AI training requires faster than any other piece of hardware ever built. One H100 does the work that would have required a room full of supercomputers 15 years ago. That is why every AI company needs it. Not because they prefer it. Because nothing else works at the scale modern AI requires. The H100 is not the best option available. It is the only option available at the scale the industry currently needs. The obvious question is, if Nvidia's chip is this valuable, why doesn't someone else build one? The answer reveals how completely Nvidia has locked in its position. The H100 is not just hardware. It runs on CUDA, the software platform Nvidia built in 2006, that lets developers program Nvidia chips for parallel computation. Every AI researcher, every AI engineer, every AI company on Earth, has spent years writing code, specifically designed to run on CUDA. Switching to a different chip manufacturer doesn't just mean buying different hardware. It means rewriting years of accumulated code, retraining entire engineering teams, and rebuilding workflows that took a decade to optimize. The switching cost is not financial. It is institutional. It would take years. Google has built its own AI chip, the TPU. Amazon has built Trainium. Intel has its own AI accelerator. Every major technology company has attempted to build Nvidia alternative. None of them have succeeded at scale. Google's TPU works for Google's specific internal models, but cannot be purchased by outside companies. Amazon's Trainium is used internally, but has not displaced Nvidia in the broader market. Intel AI chip has consistently underperformed expectation. The reason is CUDA. 17 years of developer tools, documentation, libraries, and optimizations sit on top of Nvidia's platform. A competitor building a faster chip tomorrow would still need a decade to build the software ecosystem that makes CUDA indispensable. Nvidia didn't just build a chip. They built a platform so deeply embedded in how AI is developed, that the chip and the software are now inseparable. That combination is what makes Nvidia irreplaceable. The numbers behind the chip shortage reveal how severe the supply crisis actually is. In 2023, the waiting time for Nvidia H100 chip reached 8 to 12 months. Companies were placing orders and waiting nearly a year for delivery. In an industry where competitive advantage is measured in weeks, that waiting time was catastrophic. Microsoft committed $10 billion to OpenAI, specifically to access the computing infrastructure needed to run ChatGPT. Infrastructure built almost entirely on Nvidia chips. That $10 billion was not an investment in software or talent. It was fundamentally an investment in Nvidia hardware access. Oracle announced it was building a data center cluster containing 65,000 Nvidia H100 chips. A single installation worth approximately $2.6 billion in chips alone. Not the building. Not the power infrastructure. Not the cooling system. Just the chip. The U.S. government classified Nvidia's most advanced chips as strategic national security assets in 2022. American companies are legally prohibited from selling H100s to China. The Biden administration expanded those restrictions in 2023. The Trump administration tightened them further in 2025. China, the second largest economy on Earth, is effectively locked out of the primary hardware driving the AI revolution. The Chinese government has made building a domestic Nvidia alternative a top national priority. They are spending tens of billions of dollars trying. As of 2024, no Chinese chip has come close to matching H100 performance at scale. The United States government does not restrict the export of steel. It does not restrict the export of oil. It restricts the export of Nvidia chips. That tells you everything, where the chip sits in the global power structure. To understand why companies are spending billions on chips, you need to understand what training a large AI model actually costs. GPT-4. The model powering ChatGPT cost approximately $100 million to train. That number includes engineering time, infrastructure, and energy. The majority of that cost was Nvidia hardware, either purchased outright or rented from cloud providers who had purchased it. GPT-5 is estimated to cost between $2 billion and $5 billion to train. The next generation of models after that could cost $10 billion or more per training run. Every dollar increase in training cost flows directly to Nvidia. When OpenAI spends $5 billion training a model, the majority of that money is paying for compute, and compute means Nvidia chips. Sam Altman's fundraising trips are not about building OpenAI. They are about paying Nvidia's effective tax on the AI industry. The economics compound further. Training a model is a one-time cost. Running it, called inference, is an ongoing cost. Every time someone uses ChatGPT, generates an AI image, uses an AI coding assistant, or interacts with any AI product, compute is being consumed. That ongoing inference demand requires permanent infrastructure. Permanent infrastructure means permanent Nvidia chip purchases. Microsoft, Google, Amazon, and Meta are each spending between $40 billion and $60 billion on AI infrastructure in 2024 alone. Infrastructure means data centers. Data centers mean servers. Servers mean Nvidia chips. The four largest technology companies on Earth are collectively spending over $200 billion this year. And a significant portion of every dollar flows to one company in Santa Clara, California. The chip shortage has created something that didn't exist 5 years ago. A single company, with more influence over global AI development than any government. When the United States banned H100 exports to China, it wasn't symbolic. It was a direct attempt to slow China's AI development by cutting off access to the only hardware capable of training frontier AI models at scale. China cannot build GPT-4 equivalent models without Nvidia chips. The export ban makes that impossible legally. China is attempting to make it possible domestically. They are failing. The European Union has begun examining Nvidia's market position under antitrust law. The U.S. Department of Justice opened an investigation into Nvidia in 2024. France's competition authority raided Nvidia's offices. Regulators on 3 continents simultaneously concluded that one company having this much control over a critical technology infrastructure was a problem requiring investigation. Jensen Huang, the CEO, who co-founded Nvidia, at a Denny's with $40,000 in 1993, was invited to meet with the leaders of multiple countries, not just tech conferences. Heads of state, prime ministers, presidents. Treating the CEO of a chip company with the diplomatic protocol usually reserved for heads of major nations. That is what happens when your product becomes load-bearing infrastructure for the global economy. Every major AI company simultaneously understands their Nvidia dependency is a strategic vulnerability and is spending billions trying to reduce it. Google has the most advanced alternative. Its TPU chips that power Google's internal AI infrastructure and have for years. But Google uses TPUs internally. It cannot manufacture them at the scale needed to supply the broader market. Google is Nvidia customer for external AI workloads. Despite having its own chip, Meta announced in 2024 It was designing its own AI training chip, to reduce dependence on Nvidia. The chip is years from production at scale. In the meantime, Meta is buying 350,000 H100s. Amazon's AWS offers Trainium chips as Nvidia alternative on its cloud platform. Adoption has been limited. The majority of AI workloads, running on AWS, still run on Nvidia hardware. Apple designs its own chips for consumer devices. The M series, which are genuinely competitive with anything in the market for consumer applications. Apple chips cannot train large language models at scale. For AI infrastructure, Apple use Nvidia, like everyone else. The pattern is identical across every company. Build your own alternative. Fail to replace Nvidia at scale. Keep buying H100s, while the alternative develops. The development takes years. The H100 purchases happen every quarter. Nvidia grip is not loosening. It is tightening. Every quarter that passes without a viable alternative, is another quarter of CUDA code written, another quarter of workflows optimized for Nvidia hardware, another quarter of switching costs accumulating. In 2023, Nvidia's gross margin on its data center chips reached 74%. For every $40,000 H100 sold, Nvidia kept $29,600 in profit. The companies buying those chips had no negotiating power. There was no alternative supplier to threaten to switch to. Nvidia named its price, and the most powerful technology companies on Earth paid it. Jensen Huang described the current moment in an interview in 2024. He said, "The world has hit a moment where every country, every company, and every industry understands that AI is not optional. That understanding created demand that no supply chain could have anticipated." He built CUDA because he believed parallel computing would matter. He didn't know when. He didn't know for what exactly. He funded it through 8 years of near-zero revenue, through 2 company crises, through endless internal debates about whether it was worth continuing. In 2023, the world caught up to a decision made in 2006. The gap between those two dates is why Elon Musk is on a waiting list, why Sam Altman flew to the Middle East for $7 billion, why Zuckerberg committed $14 billion to one product from one company. Nobody plans to be irreplaceable. Jensen Huang built infrastructure for a problem that didn't fully exist yet, and waited long enough for the world to need it. The world needs it now. Every AI system running on Earth depends on it. And there is exactly one place to get it.